We'll have two microphones now for the audience, Nina and Chore on that side. And so if you have a question, please raise your hand and they'll come and find you with the microphone. So, okay, perhaps we can start over there, Chore.
All right, thank you so much for the talk. Super interesting. I've heard a lot during the talk talking about this dark web and all the cryptocurrencies and whatnot. And what I'm wondering is the other side of the coin, literally. Like, how willing is the police and the authorities to help and to educate people and its citizens, journalists, political dissidents, to use the same technologies that power the dark web to protect themselves? So, for instance, we had the case of Felina. How much did she know that if she would use probably Tor and some other tools, she would probably be still alive nowadays? So, how much are actually authorities and police aware that can actually help people and its citizens to? It's at the end of the day just a tool, and then people can use it for the good or the bad. But could we also be able to protect people with the same technology? So that's my point.
Thank you for that question. To be honest, I don't think that awareness is the core business of the police. Because police will react after the crime, and awareness may be a part of the business, but should not be the core business. So that's at the level of the state to have agencies to work on awareness. Now, I will never push people to use technologies that I know that criminals will be used to. But I recognize that the Tor network is not criminal at all, and it can protect you. No, I like to have a quite good bandwidth, and I'm never happy with the one that I got with Tor. So I don't, apart to protect your identity, I don't see the real advantage. But anyway, it's a technology. We recognize that technology. Is that to the police to explain that to the people? I don't think so. I think that, and catching your question, if you have people at risk, it should be good that on the side of governmental or international entities, they are going to learn to those people how to use that type of technologies. On the side of the police, what we are learning to the colleagues is how to seize the wallets, for instance. Because if you don't seize the wallet, forget the money, and the money is part of the crime. But it's not about your question, and I just want to add that like that. So that's not the task of the police, but I agree that somebody needs to raise the awareness of the population. Do that, and you probably already do it with your friends and relatives, and I think it has to be done on that way. That's also a way to address the topic.
Thank you.
So we have our next question up there. If you have questions, raise your hand and the microphone on the other side will come to you, but let's go to that side.
Thank you very much for a very interesting and wide-ranging talk there. I'd like to maybe just pick on a point you made at the beginning. We saw, I think, in the early stages of the prosecution, Ross Ulbricht, Dread Pirate Roberts, the original kind of dark market operator, that he was accused, but I don't think the charges came to court against him for soliciting murder, anonymously through the dark market and paid for with cryptocurrency. Has there yet been in Europe or anywhere else a conviction or a kind of this has been done?
You are speaking about crimes in general or about assassination?
No, I think pretty much, like, obviously there's theoretical ideas, assassination market or something. Yeah. I think maybe what you're alluding to. But has there been yet a proved case, or is this kind of a suspicion still?
No, suspicions, of course, and cases. I'm aware of several cases running, so I don't speak about, but not yet about judgments. And to be complete, I'm a bit afraid about how we will explain in front of court the things. But sometimes it works quite well. It's surprising because again we are facing something which is interesting, is the lack of resource in some countries. So here I never visit a court in Finland, but I suppose that if I want to present something, they will put a data projector and a screen and so on, and I can put a PowerPoint with simplification of the things. Still true, but the dark web for dummies, which are the judges or the jury. but in some countries they can't, and there's also a problem about the status of the magistrates in some countries. In some countries, a magistrate don't want to know about IT. He says, "What's that? Explain it to me." But they don't catch the real important things. So when I spoke about the dark web, if you are on the dark web, you are using a clear web IP address, because otherwise you cannot be connected on the dark web. Of course, that should be part of the explanation of the investigation, but it has to be clearly presented. So no judgment that I know so far. I will make some research. It's a good question.
Our next question is at back left there.
Hi. Hey, I would like to ask you a question about Europol's capabilities in following the money in these kind of more advanced cryptocurrency schemes, or are we still relying on Interpol capabilities?
No, Europol is not a kid, and Interpol the adults. We are what's never explained, I think, is Europol is an organization which is not working like Interpol. Interpol is a bit complex, and sometimes the things are not working due to the fact that some countries want to block investigation. That's not the case with Europol, because they have a mandate. I didn't speak about, I said that I will speak, and I forgot to speak about the role of Eurojust. We have the joint investigation teams. So you can imagine an international case. So the different judges will come, or prosecutors will come together to meet at Eurojust with Europol for the law enforcement. And they will say, okay, where do we start the investigation? We will take the investigation part. And one country, let's say Finland, will say, okay, we will do it. Then the question is, where do we have traces of activity of the criminals? Let's say that one in Belgium and one in Germany. And then the investigation will be made in Belgium and in Germany based on the German law and on the Belgian law, not on the Finnish law. But all the evidence collected in the investigation will be validated and accepted so it can be used in front of the Finnish court. So that's in the general approach. But for cybercrime, it's quite efficient, because one of the main issues for cybercrime is the cross-border collaboration, and that it solved the problem quite well. Now about follow the money. Follow the money in the time of the money mules, it was quite funny and easy. Takes times, and sometimes we are still coming to an end point which is not the criminal, because you can follow the money everywhere except that in some countries. I guess neighbors, for instance, and not Sweden. But that's the concept. So with the cryptocurrencies, so there is an investment in research and development from the side of Europol. They have the ways to analyze the blockchain, for instance. And on the other side, cyber investigation are not only working with cyber, it's working with all the traditional police ways, like undercover agents. That's not traditional, but that's one way. Like seizing things, or searches, following people, interrogation, and so on. And if you look to the way that the things are organized in the dark web, there is some chances that you have some tools used in the money process that you can catch it at some point and give them some evidence in the case. But the problem is it takes time. Interpol faced the same problem with another problem is the political decision, which is making everything difficult for Interpol.
Okay, thank you.
The next question's up there.
Country.
Yes.
Have experience.
So my quickest investigation was 2 hours 30 minutes and 5 seconds. But I only remember that one because it was quite funny. To give explanation to the most technical people of you, that was a defacement from the police website. So we goes one line with the error 404. So somebody requests a resource which is not yet there because the hacker is supposed to put the resource there, but it takes more time than expected. It's a friend of the hacker, one thing to check if he was successful. So IP address, we catch the guy, he say, oh, it's my friend, we catch the second guy, done. Okay, but that's my shorter, and I hope that it will be the shortest one, because now I'm not doing operational case anymore. But when you have serious crimes, a bit more complex, we are speaking about only in one country, sometimes 5, 6 people. In more large countries like Germany, France, and so on. Only for the cybersecurity in France, they have the ANSI. ANSI is part of the army, and they have around 300 engineers. Believe me, when they are coming on the field, it works. But they are facing the same issues, encryption, finding the traces. Sometimes the server are not located at the place that they are expected, and so on, but it works. It's not like in the movie that if you look to NCIS and things like that, they are doing all the investigations themselves. So that's not how it works. But it's important that the people working for the IT crime investigation for law enforcement are working with, they cannot be cop, but they have to think like cop. Because at 5 p.m., you don't stop saying, I will continue tomorrow. And most of them are coming from other type of crime investigation, also related with IT. We all started with child porno and child abuse cases. When there is a child abuse case, you will never stop at 5 p.m. You stop when you die, or you stop when you are too tired to drive the vehicle to go to the other place. And so those same people are working now because they become older, more expert in a network and so on, and now they are working the IT crime cases. So it's always, for me, because I'm becoming a bit old, to see all those people working together for the same aim. But we don't catch the criminals all the time. That's not true. So we cannot make movies about all the investigation, only about the good ones. But that's enough movies to have 3 or 4 seasons on the Finnish TV. So it's very good.
So we have time for maybe a few quick questions. First up, the back.
Yes, hello. You started off by painting off a familiar picture with basically the cyber criminals having unlimited resources and virtually impossible to get caught. But do you study how the bad guys think? And if so, then what are some of the major trends that are keeping up the cyber criminals up at night right now? Like you had the challenges for law enforcement, and what are the challenges that they are facing?
But the challenge for the cyber criminals?
Yes, what are keeping them up at night right now?
Honestly, I don't know.
Should you be studying them?
Very interested. I think, based on my experience, most of the time it's looking to porn movies. Or drinking Red Bull or things like that. No, it's because we cannot speak about one type of cyber criminals. So, to answer a bit more fully to your question is, you have the script kiddie and the opportunist. The opportunists are cyber criminals. They say, oh, there is a new vulnerability or only a new tool available. I will scan a lot of IP addresses. So at night, they are scanning a lot of IP addresses. And some IP address has the vulnerability. So the last case that I investigate, it was an hospital. So he hacked the hospital. And then when we arrest him, he said, yes, I want to hack the hospital because they are using animals to make tests on medications. Not that hospital. So it was only a fake argument that he gave only because just before he hacked the school and so always reasons. That's the type of opportunistic. So forget that type is almost script kiddies. Annoying, because when you speak about your question is that the problem is that a simple script kiddie can make the same damages as a state hiring 10 different hackers to destroy something. And sometimes the script kiddie make the things that he don't understand, and he destroy things. Now, going to the other type of criminals, which are the most dangerous. You have the people interested by money. You have the people interested by information gathering, so intelligence. And you have the states interested by also a type of information. And you have, finally, the competitors. So they are using different tools. And about the night, it depends the tool that you want to use. So if you want a distributed denial of service, a DDoS, you can sleep at night. The DDoS is running for you. But if you are inside a system and you want to dig to get information or to discover new vulnerabilities in the intranet, then that's the type of things that they are doing. But that's not really a challenge for them. That they cannot sleep because they're going, okay, yeah, okay, so sorry, I didn't catch. Partially the police, but to be honest, not really. Because what I explained in the beginning, so they can sleep quite well. And we have to change that. But not me, we all. So that's not the good answer, but that's only my answer. Sorry for that.
Next question is here.
Hello. Can you make a distinction between crime and essentially military action?
Yes. Following the Geneva Convention, if you are making a military action, you are supposed to do it in uniform. Yes, but it means that you are supposed to announce who you are. It means that if, let's say that Finland wants to cyber attack Sweden, you have to say, okay, it's a cyber attack from Finland.
Okay, so what happened in Estonia then? How is that?
In 2007, yeah. You want to know who attacked?
Well, not necessarily so, but maybe there might be some sort of inkling who might have done that.
Yeah, it was clearly another state attacking Estonia because some political reasons at that time. And we saw exactly the same process, a bit more fine-tuned when... sorry, I forgot the name of the Balkan state. Is it Balkan? Ukraine was moving and so on. They were victim of massive cyber attacks. And not only the Ukraine internet, but Ukrainian companies everywhere in the world. So that's of course, the type of cyber attacker. But the problem is, and that you cannot, when you are attacked, you cannot know at the first time, is the attack made by a criminal wanting money or wanting to make competition against me? Or is it an attack making by a script kiddie who forget that attacking that target, it will impact myself as state or another type of entity? Or is it an attack made by, because the tools are the same. Because the tools are funded on, are based on the technology. So TCP IP packet are TCP IP packet. Then you need to use intelligence and also to share, for instance, if you are the only one attacked and all the countries attacked, that's probably coming from another country. And then you have to put that into context. What's happened? Why? Who? But that's the question to be provided during the investigation. Now, who will lead this investigation? Initially, if you don't have special units at governmental level, it will be the police. But that's not good, because we are speaking about war, cyber war. So that's why most of the states, based on especially the NIS directive, are building a special unit, which is at the top of the governmental level, made from cyber experts. And those people are supposed to coordinate the work done by the law enforcement, the prosecutors, and the army, because in the army, they have cyber experts in our country too. And then deciding based on what they observe, now we are in the cyber attack. Nobody being attacked by another country said, no, we are in war with that country. And it's very surprising so far. It will probably happen once, but I don't know when. Did I answer to your question? Or? Okay.
But although I think that distinction between operational and legal sides are.
Yeah, of course, the consequences are not the same. In the term of investigation, we are not speaking about evidence. And in case of cyber attack, the priority is not to prosecute. We will never prosecute another state, but it is to react and to detect what will be the next stage of the planet attack.
So I'm sorry, in terms of time, maybe we can take that one last question at the back. You've been waiting for a long time, but final question, please.
All right. So in the last few years, there's been some discussion about, especially in the United States, about phone cryptography and whether or not law enforcement should be able to compel suspects to give fingerprints or cryptographic keys. So my question is twofold. First, what is the current approach to this question in Europe? Is it different in different European states? And in your opinion, should the law enforcement be able to compel people to give their cryptographic keys or biometric ID if they are suspected of a crime?
That's fundamentally different with the US. First of all, at the end of last year, there was an EU decision of the Council. It means that all the ministers together said that they will not go to the solution to mandatory force providers to include backdoors, because the risk of backdoors being abused misused by other than law enforcement. In consequence of that, they put money on the table to improve the cracking or bypassing encryption capabilities on the side of Europol, putting money on research, and we got from ECTEG side a small money amount to develop the training, because if you know, encryption is only between the two parts of the communication. Nobody will read an encrypted text on the screen, so the screen should be in clear, or the voice should be understandable by the human. So there is a clear decision, and the decision is no backdoor, but providing education. So when it is possible, I will give you a simple example. Nowadays, that's not done, and it's quite easy to do. You grab the memory, you copy the hard drive, you build a dictionary, and you can make a good dictionary attack. And nobody do it, or it is not so often done. It's easy to do. It takes a bit time. No expensive tool. We will train the people to do that. For your second part of the question, in most of the EU countries, if I'm not wrong, but for all the countries that I know, as suspect, you are not expected to incriminate yourself. It means that you have the right to keep the silence. You have the right to not collaborate to the investigation, but only as suspect. So as witness, you have it's mandatory that you collaborate. But as suspect, you are not supposed to help the investigation, and you will not be punished by that. Of course, it's not a win-win, because if you go in front of the court at the end and you say, oh, I always cooperate with the investigation, and that during 3 months you refuse to communicate your password, that's your right, but then it's not believable that you want to cooperate with the investigation. And one thing important, as suspect, you are the only one allowed to lie. Which has some consequences. It means that if somebody asks to the police officer in front of the lawyer, because due to Saldus arrest, there is always a lawyer since the first moments of the interrogation. If they say, do you think, do you know that my IP address was that one? If you say no and that it is yes, then you are lying, and you can be you can invalidate the full prosecution. So it's very, the suspect have more rights in EU than but in most of the country. I have to check with UK, but it will not be a problem a long time anymore. Yeah, that's the approach.